Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're strapping in for something pretty exciting, I think. A look at modern anime cinema.
Yeah.
We've got two real titans facing off, both pushing the limits on the big screen.
Yeah.
The Chainsaw Man movie and the Demon Slayer movie.
It really is amazing to see. The level of cinematic storytelling these days is just incredible. Productions like these hitting theaters, it shows how fast the medium's evolving.
Absolutely.
But our mission today, it's very specific. It's not really about deciding which series is better overall,
Yeah.
We're looking at the source material to figure out, okay, which one of these films actually managed to create a more effective, discrete, a successful standalone cinematic experience.
Standalone, that's the key.
Exactly. And the sources, they gave a pretty complex verdict, and it really all hinged on, structural integrity.
Structural integrity, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the phrase. Because, often the best stuff that's built for TV, for weekly episodes, it doesn't always translate perfectly when you just stretch it out into a movie.
Right. It can feel like just a really long episode.
Exactly. So we're looking for that architectural design, something built specifically for the cinema experience.
Mm.
Our sources really dug into this difference and, well, the initial finding. It's pretty compelling.
Uh-huh.
The consensus seems to point towards a clear winner, at least in that cinematic structure debate. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it. So, we probably need to start with why one film seemed to edge out the other in this specific area, Chainsaw Man.
Okay.
When the critics looked at this one, the word that kept popping up was cohesion.
The cohesion.
Yeah. The sources highlighted that it felt instantly like a single conceived feature film, not just bits stuck together. It delivers a much better paced narrative.
We got our pace because
The story structure was apparently purpose-built for the big screen from the get-go.
So how did they pull off that structural integrity then? Was it about, smart editing, focusing tightly on one specific manga arc maybe, so
Yeah.
you have that classic three-act film structure?
Precisely. Yeah, it seems the film managed to avoid those common traps, like too much recap or, jarring jumps in the story that you sometimes need when moving from episode to episode.
Right.
By focusing on a tight, contained narrative, like one major conflict, it could introduce the problem, build the tension smoothly, and then resolve it within that movie time frame. That's really the definition of feature-length design.
Makes sense.
But the win wasn't just structural. The sources were pretty insistent that the visual presentation was a clear step above, too.
Ah, okay. And this is where the language gets interesting. The sources used phrases like more mature, grounded, and cohesive art direction.
Mm.
Now, for you listening, when we talk about a grounded aesthetic, especially in a world with, devils and demons,
Okay.
what does that actually mean?
Well, it means there's an intentional kind of restraint, maybe sophistication. Think of it less like constant explosive fantasy
Yeah.
and more like a high-budget, slick action thriller. The colors might be more muted. The lighting feels more realistic. Less sort of neon washes and bright flat colors and more atmospheric, volumetric light. It makes the world feel more palpable, tactile.
I see.
And that sophistication, it comes from that restraint. It creates this cohesive visual language that runs through the whole film. So the few moments of real, explosive chaos, they hit harder because they're not fighting against constant visual noise.
Right, right. Which leads us to that memorable description from the sources, maybe slightly surprising. They called the final product polished, sophisticated, and mature in its aesthetic choices, and even undeniably sexy.
Yeah.
That's quite a word for animation.
It is, and I think it speaks to the confidence in the design. It's not just technically flawless animation. It's animation that knows exactly the mood it wants to set, and it uses really sophisticated visual choices to get there.
Mm-hmm.
That polish, that maturity, it's all part of making the whole experience feel complete, contained. When every little choice, from how a character is shaded to the way a fight is framed, supports this single sophisticated vision, then you get something that feels like a definitive feature film.
Okay, but now we absolutely have to shift gears. Because you just can't talk about modern anime movies without bringing up Demon Slayer.
Oh, absolutely not.
Saying Chainsaw Man won on structure.
Yeah.
That's definitely not a knock against the Demon Slayer film. That thing operates in its own stratosphere when it comes to just raw, unfiltered spectacle.
That is the crucial caveat, yeah.
Ah.
When you talk about sensory immersion, Demon Slayer, wow, it sets the bar incredibly high these days.
Right.
Its fight sequences are just breathtaking. That's the word everyone uses. Not just well animated, but genuinely visceral, kinetic. It's pure spectacle designed to absolutely maximize that big screen theatrical feeling.
Yeah.
You go to a Demon Slayer movie expecting to be, well, assaulted in the best possible way by sheer movement and sound.
Okay, let's break down kinetic. Because if Chainsaw Man is, like you said, grounded and refined, Demon Slayer is just pure propulsive motion. Digital fireworks, basically.
That's exactly. When the sources use kinetic, they're talking about that relentless, fluid camera work. Ufutable's genius use of digital effects, making every sword slash feel like it's actually tearing through something, and the sheer speed of it all.
Wow.
You're not just watching a fight, you're almost feeling the G-force of the movement, the dizzying flow of the animation. It's an onslaught of motion and light, designed to just overwhelm your senses. The technical skill is, well, it's undeniable.
And that whole experience gets cranked up even higher by the sound, the auditory brilliance. While Chainsaw Man has great music too, Demon Slayer's soundtrack.
Yeah.
It gets called out constantly as a major asset, maybe even more memorable. It's definitely an earworm.
Undeniably an earworm. Yeah, the sources specifically praised how the music drives the emotional pacing. It often lifts scenes that maybe on paper might lack a bit of dramatic weight. It uses these huge, sweeping orchestral sounds, really powerful drums, traditional Japanese instruments, creates this instant, heightened atmosphere. It's like the engine making sure you are absolutely glued to the screen, even if the story is maybe taking a little breather between those massive action scenes.
Okay, so we've got these two different kinds of brilliance then. One is excelling with deliberate, visually mature composition and pacing.
Right.
And the other just achieves this pure, high-octane sensory overload with nonstop motion and that driving sound.
Perfect summary.
And this contrast, it brings us right to the critical difference that, according to the sources, ultimately separated the two films. That pacing and structure issue we mentioned earlier.
This is really the crux of it. This is the point where an excellent installment maybe doesn't quite become an excellent film. We need to dig into the main criticism aimed at the Demon Slayer film's structure, because this is where the comparison really sharpens.
Okay, so what did the sources identify? What was the specific failure in Demon Slayer's cinematic architecture?
Well, the core issue, the one critics analyzed quite a bit, is that the Demon Slayer movie kind of falls into that common trap we talked about. It feels like several TV episodes just stitched together, rather than a single, intentionally designed film.
Oh, okay.
And the sources explain why. It comes down to, well, the demands of episodic rhythm.
Meaning?
Meaning, when you combine segments that were originally built for weekly TV viewing, you often carry over the structural baggage of TV.
Baggage like what?
Like maybe including opening theme bits or needing some recap footage so viewers are caught up each week.
Yeah.
And maybe most importantly, those kind of artificial dips in pacing or the mini climaxes that are designed for commercial breaks or to make you tune in next week.
That's fascinating. So the TV structure itself forces these like inherent pacing problems when you just remove the weekly breaks.
Pretty much.
So instead of one smooth, rising 2-hour narrative arc, you get maybe 2 or 3 smaller arcs sort of stacked together, each needing its own mini setup and resolution, which could lead to like narrative fatigue for the viewer.
Exactly right. The source material points out that the story and character arcs can feel a bit rushed. They're trying to cram content designed for maybe 4 or 5 weeks into one sitting. And that definitely detracts from the smooth overall flow you expect from a feature film. It doesn't quite build to a single massive climax tailored for that 2-hour runtime. Instead, it's more like several end-of-episode boss fights happening one after the other.
Right. So even though the animation is spectacular and that incredible score is doing its absolute best, the things we praised earlier, they try to mask those seams, but that underlying structural issue, the episodic architecture, it's kind of hard to completely ignore.
Yeah, it's still there.
It's the difference between, say, a really polished compilation album
Yeah.
and a concept album designed from start to finish as one piece.
That's a great analogy. And, you know, if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
it really highlights a crucial lesson in cinematic adaptation. A feature film just requires fundamentally different narrative planning than an episodic TV arc. You need that single rising action building to one major climax, not 3 smaller ones that sort of start and stop. The Chainsaw Man film, by being maybe more selective with its source material and really delivering that tight 3-act structure, it showed that necessary intentionality, that focus you need for cinematic art.
So for you listening, this really illustrates a critical point about adaptation, just taking great TV content and making it longer. It's often not quite enough. A truly successful film needs that cohesive architecture, designed specifically for the big screen, it demands discipline in editing, in structure.
So, okay, let's try to synthesize the final judgment here based on the sources. Both films, phenomenal entries in their universes. They offer perfectly awesome experiences, tons of unforgettable moments. There are absolutely no losers here in terms of pure quality or just entertainment value.
Totally agreed. No losers. If you're looking for the absolute peak of high-octane action, something tailor-made for dedicated fans, delivering that unmatched visual and auditory punch,
Yeah.
the Demon Slayer movie, that's your ticket. It's a fantastic continuation, a real technological marvel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if we stay laser focused on our core mission today, which one delivers the more compelling, polished, and ultimately satisfying product as a feature-length cinematic experience? The critical consensus seems to land pretty squarely on the Chainsaw Man movie. That structural win, it comes down to its superior pacing, that mature aesthetic we discussed, and its grounded, cohesive art direction. It just felt more like a complete movie, structurally speaking.
But the major takeaway here, maybe bigger than the comparison itself, is just the sheer joy of seeing this level of artistic and technical quality hitting cinemas at all.
Yes.
Whether you lean towards the sophisticated maturity of Chainsaw Man or the pure visceral kinetic energy of Demon Slayer, the evolution of feature-length anime,
Yeah.
it feels unstoppable right now.
And that's the real win. For the medium, for us as fans, the conversation shifts from just good versus bad to something more nuanced, like architecturally superior versus structurally assembled. And now that we've seen that structural perfection is possible in anime features, well, our expectations for future films are probably forever raised.
That's a great point.
We truly couldn't ask for more from the studios pushing these boundaries.
So what does this all mean for us, the audience? It means, yeah, maybe our expectation for structural perfection has been raised. If a movie is just a compilation of amazing moments, is that truly enough anymore? Something to think about. That's your thought experiment for the week.
Definitely something to ponder.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you next time.